One. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Bashim Shah Bashem Rakak Wadash. And double honors to the apostles of the great millstone that told me when I know the thing, and as well as giving you, brothers, your deserved salutations for voiding this truth worldwide, and the different bishops too that came before me. Shalom to the Yakim Wagwaf Yam. And I just want to jump right into this video here and speaking about this whole topic of hell. And this topic that I'm going to be going into, I'm going to be covering a couple of different things in regards to this topic. And, we'll see where the spirit goes. But after watching Bishop Nate's live lesson that he did, he was speaking on a whole lot of stuff. And but the main thing that I really want to deal with is, again, this whole topic of hell that he is basically has addressed on that lesson that he did, which really, and once upon a time, I mean, Nate never really used to teach that. The IUIC overall didn't used to teach that, but now all of a sudden they're teaching this hell doctrine. And I wonder why that is the case, but that's a topic for another moment in time. I'm going to just be getting into this right here, because we've been saying this for quite a bit of time, that there's no such thing as everlasting condemnation. There's no such thing as hell, fires, and stuff like that. Like there's all different various scriptures that tells you that that's not the case. And when you look further into these precepts, I'm talking about looking into the strong concordances, like 4 strong concordances. I have 3 over here, but there's like 4 strong concordances that leads you to information that shows that that's not the case. You have scholars that have looked up things and put things in place through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai. And these things we look into. We don't just take a preacher's word or a pastor's word, which is over us, or an apostle, for face value. We do our own research. That's how we was taught to be. All right. So now let's begin by reading the book of Luke 16 and verse 19. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fed sumptuously every day, which is referencing to the Edomites right now, because they are the ones that are on top of the world. They are the ones that have these nations in tribute to sell these precious resources pursuant to the book of Revelations, the 18th chapter, and verse 11. Let me see if I could pull that out. Like it reads in verse 9. Let's begin here. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is the judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold, silver, precious stones, and pearls, and fine linen, and purple, and silk, scarlet, and all fine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointment, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, sheep, horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. This is why you have what? Human trafficking too. That's a big thing among the super rich, so to speak. Not the rich, but the super rich. So the rich in this case, the super rich in this case, which are indeed the Edomites, have enjoyed all of these fine resources, because these nations have what? Sold these resources onto them. And not even just them, but even, just to correct myself a little, even just the average American citizen, they'll be led to consume goods, whether it's to keep up with a particular trend, or whether it's a car that they like, that they saw based on a commercial. And I remember living in the States, actually, man, and you had all kind of adverts just was thrown at you. If you was watching TV, man, you got a whole a lot of adverts thrown at you to buy this and to buy that, because there was so much goods coming into the country that needed to be sold to the people to be for use. Okay, so that's how these nations have been caking with America, because all you really need is what, a small percentage in doing business with America, and you balling, you know what I mean, like, you doing pretty good out here. So when America's destroyed now, there ain't gonna be no more balling among these nations. That's why they're gonna be sighing and crying, seeing her afar off burning. All right, and then these nations are gonna wind up being poor, the ones that are not depended upon America for the sake of their businesses. So now let's go back to the point and let's read Luke 16 and 19 again. And there was a certain man which was clothed in purple. In other words, purple is a color which represents royalty, and fine linen, and fed sumptuously every day. The word fed means to be in gladness. So they were glad sumptuously every day. And that's the super rich in this case. And as well as you've had Edomites that may not be a part of the super rich camp or class, but they've also lived comfortably as well. Okay? And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores. Who is that beggar? That beggar is indicative of the nation of Israel. And the sores represents the curses that was placed upon us because we didn't keep the commandments. Verse 21, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. That's your rappers, your different sportsmen among our people, and just overall our people wanting to be side by side in the same class sect as Esau, doing good in the world. A lot of us ain't coming from a fortunate background, so a lot of us is just trying to get out the projects. The ones of us anyway, you got a lot of us that fancy the idea of escaping the lifestyle of just basically being a regular person, working 9 to 5, paycheck to paycheck, that kind of sort of thing. So if that means that they have to sell their soul, then that's what they would rather do instead. Okay? And so it reads on more. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. In other words, these nations helped further our affliction and helping to continue the oppression. Luke 16 and verse 22. Matter of fact, let me elaborate a little bit more, because let's just say you have a wound, right? Let's just say you have a sore, and the sore in itself is already painful. But when someone actually touches the sore, or if a beast comes around and licks the sore, you're going to be in more pain. So that's these nations. They've basically inflicted more pain upon us. They've brought more pain to the situation that we're in. Whether it's basically setting up storefronts within Jake's communities and stuff like that. Whether it's these nations like your like these people from Pakistan, like we used to call them Arabs, but they're really not Arabs. The Arabs don't really run those stores. They're up there balling in Dubai and Kuwait, man. They ain't got time to be owning those storefronts, man. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying. It's them Elamites that's Muslims that's running the stores, which happen to be for the most part from Pakistan. That's really running these convenience stores. And then you got the Koreanese, which sell hair products and various products in their stores. And then you got the Chinese food around the area. So you just got these nations that's profiting of our people while they're being oppressed, therefore oppressing them even more, inflaming the situation. Okay, so now let's get this now. This is Luke 16 and verse 22. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. And the rich man also died and was buried. Luke 16 and 23 now. And then how he lifted up his eyes, being in torment. So now the rich man that is now being brought down low, and now he's being tormented. Because in our world, the Edomites are going to be tormented. The tormentation that we suffered under them, we're going to bring that upon them as well, as it is written in the book of Thessalonians, that it is a righteous thing to recompense tribulation unto those which trouble you. So they have troubled us, and we're going to bring the same trouble down towards them, and if not, probably double. It's going to be double. So this reads, and how he lifted up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. Just as the saying goes, the white man's heaven is the black man's hell, which none of us are either white or black anyway. But I'm just using that just to convey the point of on this lesson in the scripture over here. Our world is going to be their hell. And this is why right now, you got people like Vocab Alone and these different Christian heads that have came out of nowhere. Like this other guy, I forgot the guy's name, but they're all coming out trying to convince themselves and trying to convince Jakes out there that they're not the Israelites, because they know this truth in the back of their mind. They know that we're the Israelites. And the more we get to know this truth, is the more it becomes official that we are those people in their eyes. And if that's the case, then basically it just brings more credence to the fact that they're going to receive for the wrong that which they have done. And the Most High is going to pay them big time, because they've actually afflicted the people of the Most High. They didn't afflict any other nation but the nation that which is of the Heavenly Father. So that's what that's very telling of. And that's why they got to convince themselves that we're not the people, when in fact we are the people. No matter how bad we look in the eyes of these nations, we're the people. Okay? And more it's proven that we're the people. People are waking up worldwide to this Israelite thing, man. And even they themselves are convinced that we are the people through the Spirit, because this is the truth. Once the truth is heard and seen, it has to convince you. Luke 16:24. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in the water. In other words, they're going to be hoping that we could lighten the hell. And cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. The flame is indicative of the affliction. So this ain't talking about him burning in hellfires. This is talking about the condition that the rich man is going to face, which the rich man is representing of the current people that's in power right now, the Edomites. The Edomites are going to be catching hell under the descendants of the Israelites. Luke 16 and verse 25, which is what we are. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime received thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things, cursing, which is what that is. But now he is converted, and thou art tormented. Okay? So they're going to be tormented. We're going to be comforted. Just like how it is right now. We are tormented and they're comforted. So while we're crying and while we're sighing and crying over the problems that we're facing, they're sitting back, cooling in the cut, looking at us like, what's you niggas' problems, man? Like, what's up with y'all? Like, my life is cool. Why don't y'all just get a job, man? Like, life can't be that hard. When you think about it, Esau lives in a different world from Jake. It's like Esau lives in a different realm, you know? So when Esau sees Jake struggling, they can't get with it. They don't really understand it, because it's like they're in a different realm. I can't really put it in a different way, but it's like night and day. It's just like, for example, us as a people, we don't really understand the realm that Esau is in. We don't get it. We don't get how they can be rich like the way that they are, and to enjoy the life that they enjoy. We don't really get that. So as well as they don't get what we're going through. Verse 25, but Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime received thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things, but now he is comforted and thou art tormented. Luke 16 and verse 26, and beside all of this, between us, you there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. Again, just like how it is right now, predominantly most of us are filling up the working class sect, and the super rich, the upper middle class, the rich, the super rich are all filled with Edomites, and they're living good on their level. Okay? So they're not struggling the way that we're struggling out here in this world. So what this is talking about is that the same way we wouldn't able to cross over from one class to another class, which only by a few of us could, but predominantly as a people, our situation couldn't get better to the point where we could stand in the same classes as Esau, living comfortably as they do. So likewise in the kingdom is going to be the same thing. We're going to make sure that they are reminded that they are a low pedigree race of people, and they're going to stay in the lowest class sect we put them in. They're not going to cross over from that class sect that we allow them to stay in. They're going to stay in that class sect, and they're going to play the best of that class sect. In other words, let me just say it this way, just to simplify it, and it sounds better as well. They're going to be the best slaves among all of these different nations, because they're not going to have no choice. Verse 27. Then he said, I pray thee therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house. For I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Verse 29. Abraham said unto him, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, No, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. And he said unto him, If they would not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead. Yeah, because you can't convince the wicked. You can't turn the wicked to be in the righteous. As it is written in the book of Daniel 12, it says that the righteous and many will be tried and made white, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and the wicked will not understand. If I'm saying that correctly. All right. So this man is going to be wicked until the very end, and even in the kingdom he's going to be wicked. How about that? The scripture I like to quote, Proverbs 16 and 4, the Lord hath created all things for himself, yea, even the wicked. The wicked. Okay? So now let's read something else, which really, personally, what I think Luke 16 is kind of relatable to Jeremiah 30. And here's why I say this. So now let's go up and read verse I tell you what, why does it just read the first verse? Because in the first verse that I read in Luke 16, I believe it was 19, where it mentions the source, right? I tell you what, I'm going to get to the point, because I'm going to be reading all of this, and it's going to take me a little bit longer than it should. So just to keep it short and reasonable, I'm going to do that. Yeah, so now let's go. Yeah, this is it right here. Let's start with verse 12. For thus saith the Lord, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. And there is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up, and thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee, and they seek thee not. For I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, and with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thine iniquities, because thy sins were increased. Which really all of this, like I've mentioned in Luke 16, which all of this is representing of the curses that we're going through. When you read all of the curses in Deuteronomy 28, that's what we're experiencing. And that's what's got us wounded grievously. This is how the Lord has wounded us with a wound of an enemy. and therefore having these nations to overstep us, and now we are yet this day under their foot, but only for a particular point in time anyway. So this reads, there is none to plead thy cause that thou mayest be bound up, and thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee, and they seek thee not, meaning these other nations. For I have wounded thee with a wound of an enemy, and with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. Why criest thou for thine affliction, and thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased, and I have done these things unto thee. So now, before I read further into Jeremiah 30, what I want to do is I want to go back to Luke 16, because I want to show you brothers something, right? I can't forget about this. I wish I would have did this earlier while I got done reading Luke 16. But I want to look into the word hell. Because if I didn't say it, or if I did say it, just to make sure, I'm going to say it again. You know, there's like, 4 different strong concordances in regards to the term hell. And it doesn't lead to what Nate is now saying it is. Or the Christians for that matter. So now let's go and let's read, let's go and get, I think it's verse 25, man. Yeah, let's look up this right here. Luke 16 and 23. See Hades, the word Hades, which is, where's the strong? Yeah, Strong's G86, Hades. Name, Hades or Pluto, the god of the lower region, Orcus, the netherworld, the realm of the dead. Later use of this word, the grave, death, hell. And additional information from the outline of biblical usage. In biblical Greek, it is associated with Orcus, the disembodied spirits. Usually Hades is just the abode of the wicked. Luke 16:23, Revelations 23, verse 14, a very uncomfortable place. Which they kind of going off on that, because this is Greek mythology. The Israelites didn't believe in Greek mythology. Alright, so when you look up this word Orcus, this was a god, as it reads, of the underworld, punisher of broken oaths in Etruscans and Roman mythology. So the Etruscans believed in this. Who are the Etruscans? The people of Japhet. So this is what they brought. So what Esau did, which makes sense, because Esau takes everything from other different nations and claims it as though he came with it by himself. All of these different paganistic gods and philosophies comes from these different nationalities of people who he has conquered. Just like what they do right now. Like right now, Esau uses all of the as what they would call esoteric knowledge, which could possibly be because most people don't research it. Most people don't research this. What was the word that I used? Esoteric knowledge, which means secret knowledge. Let me see if I'm correct as well. I want to make sure. Esoteric. I think esoteric means secret knowledge, man. But let's just look up that word to make sure I'm using it the right way. Yeah. So I'm kind of right. Intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with specialized knowledge or interest. Yeah, like the scriptures would be considered esoteric. Which is to be only understood by a few. So, in other words, this knowledge is only revealed to the elect, as well as even the knowledge on the left hand side is revealed to the elect on the left hand side. All right. So if that's the case, then it would be a secret for the most part, for most people. So I'm correct on that. Yeah, so let's go back and read. Yeah, let me go back and read this right here. So yeah, this is once again was a god of the underworld, punisher of broken noses in the Etruscans and Roman mythology. So there you go, right there. So it's a myth. The whole concept of burning and hell and all of this stuff, it comes from the Etruscans, which were Japhites, which prior before the Greeks took over that part, which was called Greece. There you have the Japhites, because you got to remember when you go back to the book of Genesis, chapter 10, where it mentions the table of nations, it mentions also the lands which was given to these nations. Okay? And places which is now considered Europe were really given to the people of Japhet, which now occupy the South Pacific islands. So now, let's go back and read Jeremiah 30 and verse 15. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy soul is incurable for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased, and I have done these things unto thee. So yeah, that's what the source is talking about in Luke 16 and just to mention once again in 25 as well, which is really the curses. So now let's read this. Jeremiah 30 and verse 16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, and every one of them shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So that's what the rich man now having to go through the sufferings. Okay? Just to shortly put it. Because they're going to be spoiled. They're going to be preyed upon by us. They're going to be in the captivity. As it is written, he that leadeth in the captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. So Esau's going to have to endure all of that, which is what he dished out. Verse 17, for I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord. Because they call thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion whom no man seeketh after. Exactly what, just like how they look at us right now. We're considered, the infamy of the people. We're not considered as Zion. When you think of Zion, you think of a people to be remembered. Okay? So they're not going to look at us as the Israelites in our estate and what has been shown to the world by this kind of music that has been aired out among the nations called rap music to the world, thinking that that's how we all operate. All right? That's what these JOOs have done. What they've done is they've used this music to basically bring us down, like the saying goes, killing two birds with one stone, to stifle the nation of Israel and to basically bring a bad image towards these nations about the Israelites in their current estate. All right, so now let's read on from verse 18. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be builded upon her own heap, and the palaces shall remain after the matter thereof. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving and the voice of them that make merry. So now we're going to be the ones, faring sumptuously every day. And I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. And I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. And their children also shall be as aforetime, and their congregation shall be established before me. And I will punish all that oppress them. And their nobles shall be of themselves, and their governors shall proceed from the midst of them. And I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me. For who is this that engage his heart unto approach unto me, saith the Lord Yahweh? And ye shall be my people, and I will be your power. Behold, the whirlwind of the Lord goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind, and it shall fall with the pain upon the heads of the wicked. And that whirlwind is going to come out of those nuclear missiles. Verse 24. The fierce anger of the Lord shall not return until he have done it, until he have performed the intent of his heart. In the latter days he shall consider it. So that's to destroy the wicked. So when all of this positive stuff that I've read in the book of Jeremiah 30, from 19 down to 22, this is showing that the beggar, which is us, is going to be comforted, and that they are going to be tormented. The Edomites, in this case. So I think I've said what I had to say in this video, and hopefully that this was edifying unto you, because that's why, we're supposed to do these lessons anyway, for the sake of edification. So with that, I'm going to close this one, giving all of the praise and the glory to the Most High and the Son, Yahweh Bashmel Shabbat Shem Rakah Kwadash. And with that, I am out. Shalom.